guys, it's Lauren Yates from Rave Up here, and I'm privileged to be here today with the co-founder of Anytime Fitness Australia, Jacinta McDonell. Hi Jacinta, how are you going?
Hi Lauren, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much. I know you're a very busy woman, so I appreciate you coming on the show. Welcome to Rave It Up. She's got her own microphone and everything. Now, I actually saw you at Jack Delos's Unconvention back in March, and as soon as you spoke, I was just thinking, I have to get her on the show.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. How did that all come about for you? Did Jack Delos
I think Jack and I had
you?
spoken at another event prior to that at the Hunger Project. It was a Vivid event. I think it was about 2 years ago. So we'd met there, and I think that's probably how he reached out.
So you've been friends ever since?
Yeah.
Or had that contact? So
yeah, absolutely.
You were definitely a standout. I was like, oh my
thank you.
goodness, the stuff that she has achieved.
Oh, thanks.
Just total role model, guys. You need to check her out if you haven't already. Back in 2008, 10 years ago, cannot believe it, that's gone really quickly. You and your brother Justin launched the US franchise Anytime Fitness here in Australia. But before we talk all about that, I'd love to know, when you were younger, did you want to go down the path of entrepreneurship or had other things in mind?
Yeah, no, I think that I think I was one of those kids at school that never really knew what they really wanted to do. I was never an academic child, so I was always more in the arts or creative kind of fields.
Yes.
And so then, but I grew up inside gyms. My brother and I both did. So our parents had gyms when we were in primary school. So we kind of just had that. My dad always had his own businesses. So I think that was just the way that I kind of interpreted the world, was that you just, if you wanted to do something, you just went and did it. And it wasn't necessarily you studied and had, that was kind of my upbringing.
Yeah.
And so as soon as we left school, both my brother and I opened a gym with my mum. So I was 18 when we opened our first gym, and my brother was 20.
Out of high
yeah,
school.
so
it's crazy.
I guess we kind of landed in that, and then I found it really hard. There's only a few times in my life where I guess I've worked for somebody, and I found that really challenging because I just...
Me too.
Yeah. And so I'm much better if I can have my own, agenda and work my own. Yeah. So that's, I guess, where I landed. So I don't think I ever really thought I'm definitely going to have my own business. It was kind of just what happened, and I've enjoyed it the whole time.
That's great.
Yeah.
And since you're around gyms throughout your life as well, is that something your family was like, oh, you should do this?
Yeah, I mean, Dad was a professional football player, so I think fitness was always part of us growing up. So that was a natural extension of when we opened the gym. So I think we it felt just natural for my brother and I to probably do that. And then there's so many parts of the industry in fitness, so there's so much sales and marketing, and there's there's so much, and especially back when we opened. Yeah, so much to learn. So I think that we kind of delved into the business side of it. Whilst it was wellness and fitness, we were definitely sort of captured by business and all those strategic kind of thinking that you have to do.
Yeah, so there's no other careers in mind. You didn't want to become an artist or something.
No, you never know. Maybe soon.
Maybe. You seem to be putting all your fingers in all the pies, so who knows what will happen.
Yeah.
And are you still working with your brother, or are you?
No, so I exited.
Back from it now,
I exited Anytime in June last year.
Wow.
So that was
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So that was 10 years. We started. Justin and I worked on the business for 12 months before we launched in Australia. So that was kind of 10 years when I exited. It was just really time for me, I think, to expand. And do something different.
Do your own thing.
Yeah, and I think with franchising, it's such an amazing business model, but it has such structure around what you can and you can't do, because obviously we've got an amazing relationship with the US, but you're still bound by the brand guidelines and all the things that go with that. So for me, it seemed like it was time for me to be able to do something a bit more creative.
Yeah, because the original founders, they had their structure, and
and
it
works,
and
you're not going to change it if it's working.
Exactly.
But I guess I was finding myself wanting to do other things, so it was a really good time to exit.
So what was it like working with family? Did you guys fight a lot, or did you think it brought you closer?
So we are polar opposites, my brother and I, so our strengths are completely different. We're very conscious of what our weaknesses are, so we've never had any issues.
That's good.
That was amazing. I think if we were similar, it would have been a complete disaster, but it's always worked. So it was never a problem.
But it's good now. You've stepped back, you can do your own individual thing as well. So when starting Anytime Fitness in Australia, you guys actually had to wait 12 months to get the rights. How do you stay motivated with, that's a long time. Most people just give up.
I think it was just part of the process of securing the rights, because they weren't quite ready, so they were still also trying to get, I guess, their due diligence done in going global. And there was lots of conversations and lots of trips back to the US. So it was 12 months. It kind of went pretty quickly.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and we were just really certain and really confident with what we wanted to do. So for us, it was a really long sales process, I guess, for us to sell ourselves into the US, to say we are absolutely the people to bring it into Australia. So but
fantastic.
It was great. It was fun.
Yeah, good. The year went quickly, and it's so great that you were so motivated and you're driven. You knew what you wanted, and you went for it. So a year was like probably nothing to you, right?
That's fine.
And the first franchise was opened in Gunnedah.
I know.
In the middle of like nowhere.
Yeah.
No offense to people who live out there, but what were your strategies to keep it growing? Because now there's like over 430 clubs or
480.
Like, oh my,
I know.
Even bigger.
Yeah,
okay.
I know. So Gunnedah came about. So our first franchisee was opening in Muswellbrook, and he'd secured a site in Gunnedah, but he didn't want to do two at once, which is fair enough because it's the first one in the country. And so my brother and I kept getting approached by the landlord to open Gunnedah, so we just eventually said, yeah, sure, we'll open it. And so that's how it came about.
At least it's opened.
It wasn't, and it did really well. So we had a really successful pre-sale, and I think for us that gave us such confidence to be able to go into small regional markets. So I think in hindsight now, looking back, it was probably one of the best things that we did, was to really prove concept outside of the major cities.
Yeah, because it would have been harder to do it in the major cities, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But I think your natural instinct is to go, we need to be in Sydney and Melbourne, and and they're the tougher fitness markets. So I think for us, it proved regional concept, which is I think one of the reasons we grew so quickly regionally. So it worked out perfect.
Yeah. Did you find it hard to like prove
Travel
yourself and go like, we are worth it, open up another one?
Yeah, no, the franchisees that all opened the original clubs quickly bought second, thirds and fourths and fifths because they were so successful.
It was working.
So we have a lot of multi-unit operators. So it's nearly 60% of our operators own more than one, and some own as many as 16.
16.
Yes, there's a lot of franchisees that have grown their own, I guess, really established businesses within the franchise system. So they've been really successful.
So with that many clubs, how do you make sure you keep quality in every single one of them?
Yeah, and I think that's part of, we're lucky in the fact that our security system and our access systems being 24/7 means that we don't need a huge amount of staff, which is where a lot of the variables are.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of really lucky that we can manage a whole studio or a whole gym, even if it's got 1,500 members, with usually one staff member or 1.5 staff members. So it's a really unique business model, and that helps control the quality because we do really high quality equipment and our refreshes are every 5 years, so we have to keep our clubs looking great. But I think the low wage model and the low human model means that the consistency is actually easier.
Isn't that
to maintain.
interesting?
Yeah,
this is really opening my eyes.
Yeah.
I hope it is for them too. But now you have moved on, and now you have founded a yoga and meditation studio called Will.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that name? Because it does have a one in there.
It does have a one in
I.
there, yeah. So the one stands for One Human. So we give 10% of our revenue to our foundation, the Humankind Project.
Yes.
And so we wanted that. Yeah. So we wanted that to be really embedded with the name and be something that people say, well, why is there a one? So then we can have that conversation around what we stand for.
Yes.
And we
I
just
thought
wanted,
it was just like, we're number one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That could be it
yeah,
too.
they could do that too. And I think we wanted a strong name which is not too yogi.
Yeah.
So we wanted to really be modern and have people really, I guess, look at yoga differently.
Because you could also expand it to do other things if you wanted to, instead of just being pigeonholed.
Yeah.
And I did like what's on the wall there. I will create change.
Yeah.
That kind of goes with the whole thing, doesn't it? Did that come in your mind?
Yeah,
when you thought of Will?
I think for us, yoga for me is around, personal growth, whether it's through mindset shifts or whether it's through our physical practice.
So, yeah.
But also the way that we support Humankind projects, creating change in the world. So change is a really big thing that we talk about within the brand. So we try and kind of put that at the forefront.
Yeah, changing one step at a time.
Yeah.
And how have you found this different from other yoga studios?
Yeah, so we, I guess the whole premise that Will's built on is the things that in yoga that I used to struggle with when I had I've done yoga now for probably 10 years, and I used to struggle with the industry in the way that it delivered yoga and the fact that it was really inconsistent. Usually the studios were quite old, they were really, really brightly lit. So there's a lot of things that I was like, why is it Why is it like that? I don't understand. Why is it, why are all the studios like that? Because as a consumer, as someone on the mat, I'd prefer it a different way. So I think Will's the expression of all those frustrations that I had. So we have a dark room. We have we have music. Music's not in the background. It's at the forefront of our practice because I love music, but I also think we move better to music.
Yes.
So we try and create a real sensory experience so that people can disconnect. I think that we're all struggling with too much information. Too much external things that we can't disconnect from. So our practice and our rooms are designed so that when you walk in, it's a dark, immersive space. So you disconnect straight away. So we've put a lot of thought around the design of our spaces. I think that's really important, as well as the sensory experience that you have whilst you're doing yoga.
Yeah, even just straight away when you walk in, all the nice dark colours, and you just feel soothed even before you even get in the yoga room. Yeah, absolutely. And you do match the songs to visuals and stuff as well? Because it's also online, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a whole production that we, I don't know how we kind of ended up having to do all this production stuff, but we just were so focused on the experience being a certain way that we've had to really focus on the music journey, focus on the lighting, focus on what is on the visuals and how does that make you feel.
Which you didn't think you'd be doing.
No, so
it's kind of
so we do all of that in-house. So we do our own music, we do our own visuals, and we sort of curate the whole thing, and then we produce it online as well. So for a lot of people that can't get to a studio 2, 3, 4 times a week, which is tough, time-wise, it's hard for people to fit those long sessions at yoga studios. In our classes are only 44 minutes, and online we have 22 minutes.
44, not 45. 44.
Just to be different. And then we have at-home practices, which is as short as 22 minutes, because I know when I've got the kids at home in the morning, for me to do 44 minutes is really challenging, or if I'm traveling, so the 22-minute classes are awesome.
That's fantastic. What sort of visuals? Like oceans? Yeah,
usually nature, so people can just really disconnect with what it is in our hectic life that we're dealing with in the city, and just connect with nature.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to come along now. Yeah. You're getting me excited. And this is your type of exercise now? We won't be seeing you in a gym or something?
No, I still do. I still do a bit of physical stuff, but yoga is more my practice now, and has been actually for quite a while, because I find it shifts my mindset more so than a really hard, strenuous workout at the gym used to.
Especially how busy you are, you kind of just
want
to
disconnect, be able to disconnect, and so it's definitely much more my practice now than.
So when did you implement it into your life? Yoga and meditation.
It's probably about 9 years. It'd be nearly 10 years when I started yoga, but my first few years I did it kind of once a week or sporadically, and then I kind of got really engaged with it, and it was
probably not properly.
And then I started to go, okay, maybe I'll do this thing properly, and go 4 or 5 times a week, and it became quite a strong physical practice for me. And now it's more 2 to 3 times per week, and it will vary from stretch too, so it's a little bit softer. So
that's great.
I do what I feel like. Yeah.
How do you have time for all of that? Do you just get up even earlier? Because
I do get up really early.
Because you got to juggle a business
and the
kids. Oh,
yeah.
And
I think
somehow keeping fit and healthy.
Yeah, I think. I just prioritise it. I think that for me, if that falls off, then usually a lot of things fall off, including how productive I am at work.
That's very true.
And so I think that we can think we're so busy I don't have time to do that, whereas I know that if I don't do that, I could work longer hours and get less done. So I've actually worked out that if I spend 40 minutes doing that, I work so much better during the day. Time. Yeah, so I get that back plus a lot by investing in that time. But I think we get caught in, I don't have time. I could never fit it in. And
it's the wrong mindset.
Yeah, so it's a shift in that actually comes before anything else, and then everything else seems easier.
That's great. Yeah. And I guess it's quite easy when you've got a yoga studio yourself. You join in.
But if I'm
classes?
not in the office, and I'll practice at home.
Yes.
If I've got the kids and I'm trying to get them to school, then I've got meetings all day and I can't get to a class. Because the other thing is classes are restrictive with times. So whilst the studio is amazing, if I need to do it at 5 o'clock in the morning, I need to do it at 5 o'clock in the morning. So that's why the at-home practice works really well.
5 o'clock in the morning. But whatever suits you.
Yeah. I guess or 7:30 at night or 8:30 at night. I can still fit in something.
You're probably used to doing 5 a.m. yoga now, aren't you?
I'm the morning person.
Wow.
Those annoying ones,
Yeah, those annoying ones that get up
people
and
get up.
yes!
Yeah, I love the morning.
Love life. It's going to be a great day. And as I mentioned before, you're such an amazing role model, such a powerful, strong woman, physically and mentally. And I love that. And you are a strong advocate for using business for good.
Yeah.
As you mentioned before, you established the Humankind Project in 2015, which provides life-changing projects to communities in Africa and India. Yep. Can you share with us how, like, the Will Studio contributes to that? Is it, what, 10% of your profits or?
10% of revenue. So we chose to, I guess, you know, make that definitely part of our brand.
Absolutely.
And people always say to me, do you think all businesses should do that? And I'm like, no, businesses should do what feels right for them. And 10% of revenue is quite a lot.
You want to give because you want to give.
Yeah, and it's something that, and that's what I've chosen to do. But we contribute to 3 projects. So there's a microfinancing projects that we fund all through Africa, which enables generally women to take microloans to be able to start a business, to be able to support their family and communities. And then we're supporting a whole community in Malawi of 37,500 people coming into self-reliance.
Yep,
so it's one of the projects. And then the other one is rural girls' education in India. So they attend night school because they have their duties during the day, whether it's farming or, you know, helping with a family, and then they come into school 5 nights a week.
So you're a big believer in education. I really like that.
Yeah.
Especially for those undeveloped countries that...
Yeah, I think they just
there's really no difference between them and us, just how they live.
Like, and they just don't have access.
Yeah, they've got that hunger for opportunity and want to do something with their lives, but, you know, sometimes we've got to help, guys. We do. And you've travelled over to Malawi quite a lot as well. Has there been, like... You know, do you have a most memorable experience that you've had over there that really sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's always a few on every trip, I think.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, I think, you know, so when we go there, we meet the community leaders and we meet the women and the men that are running different programs within their communities. And one of the communities is around HIV and how to live positively and have a positive impact whilst having HIV.
Yes.
And because it's still a massive issue in Africa. And I think one of these grandmothers was speaking, and she was she'd lost both of her kids to HIV, and this is really common.
Oh.
And she was raising her grandkids, who luckily weren't HIV positive, but she was standing there as an absolute powerhouse woman, explaining to how she lives a really positive life, and she takes her medication, and she goes out and she spreads the word around, you know, how people need to have a positive impact even if they're living with HIV. And I just always compare it to when we come home here, and I can imagine a grandmother here that's lost their children, that's raising their grandkids, wouldn't be able to stand up and speak powerfully about having a positive life. And I think that shows me the mindset shift and the resilience of these people that have been given just a small amount of training and a small amount of opportunity.
Yeah.
And they overcome so much hardship that we can't even imagine. But they do it with such power and such determination. I think they're the stories that usually stick with me, because I always like to relate it back to, you know, how would a grandmother be here in Sydney if that happened to her? And we wouldn't approach it with the same mindset. We'd be like, poor me, and it's terrible, and oh my God, what am I going to do? Whereas over there, she was just such in her power. And I think those are the stories that I take back to go, okay, well, how can we lead a bolder and bigger life, considering all the opportunity that we have? And I think that's what drives a lot of the Humankind Project work, is that we've got too much opportunity.
Yeah, just a little.
That we get there, and then we're like, oh, I'm not sure what to do. And you actually strip it back and you're like, okay, so you've got too much opportunity, and that's why you're so stressed and so confused, and these people just need a small amount of opportunity. And so that's where I just think there's such a disconnect.
What a positive outlook. You've got to be grateful for what you have.
Absolutely.
For them, that's something that they have where we don't. They're just so grateful for what they have.
And they're so happy.
They are. Whenever I see the photos, I'm like, there is not one sad person.
They're always singing and they're dancing, and they're just so grateful when we come, and they're just amazing.
So how often do you go over there?
We usually go every 18 months. Yeah,
wow.
We're going to Uganda in March on a trip. So we do leadership immersion trips. So we're taking, I think there's 12 entrepreneurs that we take with us. Wow. And we're over there for, the whole trip's about 10 days, but we spend 5 days in the field really getting immersed in the work and meeting with communities and leaders to see how they're transforming their community. And we get all the leadership lessons from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing a lot of the kids remember you, and it's like, oh, just there to get back.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I just think there's so many kids. So it's an amazing experience.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, have fun.
Yeah,
whenever your next one is it coming up?
March
okay.
next year. Yeah.
Okay, it's going to be, even though we're in May, it's going to come up very quickly.
It will.
Good. And as well as juggling your business and your family and your exercise Nice. I got to say, you must be an impeccable time manager. I really want to know, as an entrepreneur, do you have like a big like yearly planner or something? Like, how do you set it all out?
My routine changes a bit, so I try and keep it quite set but quite fluid in terms of what's happening. So we just opened a second studio, a second yoga studio last week. So a lot of things shifted to allow that to happen. So I get really good at prioritizing what's important at the moment, because I think you get overwhelmed if you try and do everything all at once. So I'm quite strategic with what is the major focus and where is my energy going and where is my time going, and making sure that that's aligned. So I think it's easy for us to say yes to a bunch of things and then realize that, hey, hang on, that's actually aligned to where I'm going. Why am I doing that? So I assess it a lot to go, how did that get in my diary? Like, why is that in there? Like, I don't need to do that. And so I'm pretty good at I say no to a bunch of stuff, just because I'm like, that is not the best use of it's not even my time, it's my energy.
Yeah.
And so I'm really conscious of that, and making sure that even on a daily basis, do I really need to go to that meeting? If I don't, it's like I'm not going. And so I think I'm getting better at that as I get older.
That's good.
Yeah. So it's still a challenge. It's a challenge for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
But it's really being able to go, am I doing that because I should do it, or do I actually need to do it? And if I don't want to do it, then maybe I just don't do it. Whereas I think when I was younger, it was like, I really should do that, so I'll do it, and I'll squish it in. And then you're like, no, don't do that.
You're going to be exhausted by the end.
Yeah, and you just run around in circles.
Absolutely. Didn't think about it that way.
You didn't actually achieve much.
Yeah. Well,
I was just really busy, and then you're like, well, busy doing what? Like, did you achieve anything? So a lot of mine is like, what's the impact from doing that? And is that worth it? Yes, it is. Or no, it's not.
Well, you go to bed with satisfaction going, I did a really good day today. And I achieved
versus
a lot.
Like, what did I even do today?
What did I do?
Frustrating.
I just got through, whatever it was, 18 hours. If that's your big day. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you agreeing to this interview then. She's prioritized it, guys. That's fantastic. Now, even though you've already achieved so much in your career, Jacinta, and a lot, as we've been talking about, what else can we expect from you in the future? Is it all under wraps at the moment, or can you tell us?
I think Will's definitely a focus for us in terms of really refining how we provide our experience and how the business model works. So that's kind of a real focus for us at the moment. Humankind's still growing, so it's starting to get a bit of momentum. So we're trying to manage the growth of that. As to how many projects we have and how many people are engaged. So that we're trying to keep that as tight as possible. So they're really the two focuses. There's a bit of property stuff going on that I enjoy as well.
Great.
And then the kids. So my 17-year-old finishes a HSC this year. So So
is she going to get into the same field as you?
She works at the studio, so she's actually awesome. At Will. So so it's just really supporting her through her last year of school, and then the two little ones, and my littlest one goes to school next year. So that takes up, that's a huge priority to me in terms of spending time with them and making sure that I'm around when the important stuff happens. So they're kind of my focuses. Those
family
three.
First.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you're going to open up more Will Studios as well, since you just said you opened your second one?
Yeah, we just opened our second one. So we'll see. We just, we're only 2 years old, and it's a complete startup in terms of everything's from scratch. So still
a baby.
Yeah, still a baby. It really is. Like, anytime when we brought it into Australia, it had been running in the States for 7 years. So we're really in infancy in terms of Will.
Yes.
But we've got a really great team, and so far we're delivering a really amazing experience. So we'll see.
It's good that you already had that experience with Anytime Fitness.
Yeah, so if we want to, we can.
And
it's just more like, how does that fit with everything else in my life, and when do we want to do that is more, I guess, and if we do, we do. So I'm kind of open at the moment to see where it goes.
Yeah. Plus you have so many contacts with entrepreneurs, and you kind of figure out what works and what doesn't.
And if it's
absolutely. Really about who you hang out with as well.
Yeah.
And I'd love to know as well, do you have any advice for the listeners who might want to become an entrepreneur themselves? In any field, I guess.
I think that for me, it's always about creating something that is actually needed in the world, or that you truly believe is needed. Because I think sometimes it's easy for us to see an opportunity or see something that,
or just want to make really money out of it,
and then, I could do it really kind of the same, but just slightly differently, and then maybe, and it's like, well, what is that delivering anything really into the world, and are you super passionate about it? Because the one thing I do know with starting a business is actually hard.
Oh yeah.
And so unless you're truly passionate about what you're creating, then you're never going to have enough energy to actually sustain the first couple of years. And I think that, you know, even with Will, there's been moments you're like, geez, this is really hard. And if you don't really love it and you don't really have the passion for it, you're going to burn out and you're not going to have enough energy.
You're probably going to give up.
And you're probably going to give up. And so I think for me, it's surrounding yourself with people that can actually add to your skills and give you energy and not take away your energy. That's really important. And then making sure that you're super passionate about it and you actually are creating something new and different that people can actually get hold of and go, this is cool, versus, like it's another one of the same things, because it's like, well, there's so much stuff in the world. It's like, I think we need more meaningful things. So for me, it's about finding something that's really aligned, something that you're really passionate about, surrounding yourself with other entrepreneurs or other people that have done the stuff before to go, how would you do this? And not
follow their
too
recipe.
And just be resilient, because you're going to have to be.
Oh yeah, tough skin. You need it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
you really do.
Well, that's fantastic advice. Thank you very much for that. Hopefully they take it on board. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with everything you just said.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we are getting to the end of the interview. It's been a lot of fun. I've learnt a lot. But as a closing statement, and was probably the most important question, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your 14-year-old self?
I think the thing that I tell my kids now is, you know, people are saying, what's your daughter going to do when she leaves school? And I'm like, oh, I'm not sure. And to me, it's I don't say to her, what do you want to be or what do you want to do? It's like, what do you want to try first? And I think that when we're younger, and I think my generation absolutely at school was, well, what are you going to do? Like, it was literally choose a career path, and I just don't believe that that's the way that we're built as humans. Some people actually know when they're 10, you know, I'm going to be a nurse, and they are, but I don't, you know, I was never one of those people. So I think for me, it's always about, what do you want to try first, and give it a go, give it everything you've got. And if it doesn't work, don't be scared to move on and change. And I think sometimes we can get really caught in, well, I think this is to be successful, I need to do this, this and this, and we get caught on one path. Whereas you know, for me, it's more like, well, try something else. And it's never failure, it's always just learning.
Exactly.
And I think that sometimes people are so scared to fail that they don't try the thing that they would really love to do. And I think for me, with the way that I try and raise my kids is, it doesn't matter if you fail, what do you want to do? And let's just give it everything. And then if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. You just pick yourself up and you try something else. So as I think that's what I try and teach them. So that's what I would tell myself as well, is just try something. If you feel like you want to give it a go, then just because you may not have all the skills, we never do, but just do it anyway.
Yeah. Who knows? From doing
you
all that, you may
know.
have multiple passions.
You may.
And you may be able to combine them. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I love that. Thank you. For all the young listeners, it's really good advice. And before we go, if the listeners would like to contact you or find out what you're up to, where should they go?
Probably best my website. So it's jacintamcdonell.com. We put stuff on there. And then Will is probably the most... Will and Humankind. So any of those three modes will get you to sort of see what we're up to. They're all very interconnected, but those three,
And I highly recommend everyone going to follow you on Instagram as well, because I love it. It's just filled with motivational quotes and
generally see what's going on in my life as you're like, oh, that's interesting.
You doing crazy things like skydiving in Hawaii. It's like, woo! I don't know how you have the guts to jump out of a plane, but...
No, and I was always so scared to do that anyway.
Well, there you go. You tick it off your bucket list.
I did. I was like, okay, great, done. Never have to think
it's
about
funny,
it
it's
again.
on mine too, but I'm still like petrified to do it. So one day, but hopefully sooner, because if you say one day, it's probably never going to happen, unfortunately. I would also love to know, I've seen in a lot of your photos, your tattoo with the 3 triangles.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
And so... It's a few things, but it's really my 3 kids. Like, I kind of look... I really like...
guessing that's probably what it's going to be.
Yeah, but I really like triangles. So I kind of wanted some sort of symbol for them, and I liked triangles, and I thought it looked cool.
It does look
creative
cool.
sense. So I was just like, so it's more them than it is anything else.
You little artist.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate your time, as I mentioned before.
Well, thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome. Hopefully you had a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Questions.
Absolutely. Thanks,
and I'd
Lauren.
definitely love to have you on again in the future. So if in the future you want to talk about anything or promote anything,
Okay.
I'm here for you.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome. And for everyone watching, make sure to check out Jacinta on Instagram, as I mentioned before, and visit her website. And even come along to the lovely Will Studio here in Surrey Hills. You will not regret it. It's stunning. But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.